and in their ability to have students using computers. There'd only be one or two internet cafes in the small villages, but all of the kids would be using them. And so I guess what I'd love to hear, Adelma, is what other countries Promethean focuses on. And I know that there's a lot going on in Western Europe, but are there any kind of advances you see in Asia, in Africa, around technology?
Absolutely, yeah. Just opened up an office in Asia. I believe it was last year. And so, yes, in this country, I have to say, we have a lot of catching up to do. And so I'm watching these chat questions and these statements going back and forth, and I guess all this, your question to me leads me to ask one is that, where do we go from here? How do we get these administrators to take a chance, to take a little bit of bad press so that we can compete with our brothers and sisters in these other countries that are very advanced and willing to not so much worry about being PC, but taking a chance of what's best for the children, doing what's good for the children and making it so.
I have a thought on that. Again, the reason it was so prevalent where you were in the Philippines was because it was the most cost-effective solution. When we look at these smart boards and we look at the ability to have teacher sharing, to bring in virtual field trips, to have specialists bring tremendous learning opportunities on a portable board to the classroom, I mean, that's going to be critical for our schools that are incredibly crash-strapped right now. And so the question becomes, even given the way the economy's been decimated, our teacher ranks have been decimated into next year in California and across the U.S., we're going to have to find technological solutions to bridge the gaps. We can't continue to throw people at the problem. And so how can we, and I think if we can make that conversation, the prevalent conversation with our parent communities and our school communities, then it really opens up the door for more, portable books, electronic books, portable whiteboards, bringing in lesson plans. All of that becomes a bottom line solution, not just a technological solution.
Also, Karen, the biggest things is that I wish there was a way for us to allow our school administrators, parents, teachers, and so on to understand that as we talk about fear, the fear of them letting their students come in and come into this world, is that the students are already there. They're already out there. They're using it every single day. Even the parent that has banned their child from social media has a Facebook page, has a MySpace page. So if we could just let them know somehow that they're already using it.
Yeah. So let's bring it in and let's use it in help mold it.
Yeah. One of the quick comparisons that we use a lot in conversations with faculty and administrators at various levels is about raising kids. When we raise kids, we bring them to a restaurant and we let them make a mistake and we teach them how to appropriately behave in public. What we don't do is lock them in the basement and tell them anything that they say out in public might be held against them for the rest of their lives. But yet, that's still the privacy paradigm in social networking, definitely in high school and incredibly often all the way through college, where students' work is locked in a centralized learning management system. They don't get it back. It's not searchable. It's incredible how much students pay to give up their work forever. If it wasn't just naive, it'd be unethical. It's something that just has to change.
I find that one of the interesting drivers around talking about technology also talks about financial literacy, the other topic that I find to be somewhat atrocious for students in schools. And having a pre-chat about this discussion tonight, I was talking to someone about the role of technology in financial literacy and how much that could help with so many of the problems that young people face today around not understanding the simplest things like balancing a checkbook. And if we're teaching them PowerPoint, then it should also be Excel or Quicken or the types of social tools that are out there for children to be able to learn about financials. And I guess, Karen, would you talk maybe about, your daughter's in the 4th grade. Is there any way that, sort of breaking that barrier and as Shelley had mentioned in
In history, I'm seeing them engage technology in their social studies. In math, they're using various web tools and web contests to practice math facts with kids from around the world. So I think that's, or at least around the United States, I think that's kind of cool. I saw something come in the chat that privacy issue is still a really important issue, especially as a mom of a young child. Every time she gets near that computer, even though I live on the computer, I'm very concerned about where she is and what she's doing. So having those programs be school blessed and knowing that they're school sanctioned is very important to me. On the financial literacy side, even looking at junior achievement that comes into the classroom and teaches kids about financial literacy and tax money and how that all works, they're having a hard time being able to have schools afford to bring them in. So they're having to look at ways to do it through virtual field trips. So again, it's other ways to bring these lessons to our kids that's more affordable, that we can have a broader reach with.
My niece is in the fourth grade, and she has a project today. As I was coming over here, she called me because her project, she had to buy a house. She has to pay the light bill, pay the gas, and she has to do it all on the internet. So she had to go onto the internet, go through a real estate agent, find a house, and do the whole thing. So that's a lot, and she did everything online. She's paying all her bills online, and she bought a house in my neighborhood. She lives in another state, but she bought a house down the street from me, and so she's able to do it all on the internet. And I guess for someone without children, I don't fear it because I guess I monitor it with her. As much as I can. She has a Facebook page, I have one. She, sends me links and different things. So I guess I never really thought about the fear until you mentioned that, although you live in the space, you still fear for your child on the space.
Interesting. So we have a comment, we have a question that we're going to bring up right now. That was in the question tab. And it's in regards to what would you share with President Obama regarding funding reasons for the classroom of the 21st century. I think one of the most interesting things I've learned tonight, Karen, from you, is that parents in some districts are making the majority of the decisions where funding is going. In the public schools in Austin, Texas, I know in the independent and private school sector, that's a little bit different. And I know in other public schools that I've worked with and seen that it's a lot about the district making decisions, and higher education, Kevin, having a whole other realm. But I guess to kick it off, Karen, what do you think the federal government has a role in helping develop classrooms of the 21st century? Do they have a role, and what would it be?
To me, and I'm certainly not an expert on this, but I think there has to be some minimum standards for what an equipped classroom is across the board in every community in America, regardless of the SES of that community. And that means bringing back. Before I had kids, the big thing is we're going to have a wired classroom. Every classroom is going to be wired. Well, now every classroom does not need that one little desktop computer. They need a window to the world. And how do we make that happen? And so I think for funding priorities is really saying what is that set of standards, regardless of what's happening today with the economy. How do we set that bar and set that bar high so we can be competitive as these kids move into college and then move on into the job space.
Did you want to sort of jump in and talk about?
I guess one of the things I would like to, I guess we probably have to let him know that the monies or any funding that maybe we can start with educating the administrators and the principals and the superintendents and start with educating them so that we can then prepare our students that are coming through these elementary school, middle schools, and high school for these jobs that don't exist yet. So I think we have to take the money and educate them so that it's okay, so that everyone can know the okay. And there was a question in here that Tom put, how many educators could locate this chat to participate in it right now? So we have to go back and educate so that our educators can educate our children.